Welcome back for the second segment of the March 3rd Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
We'll have three more races to bring you in this second segment. We'll get things started February 21st. Race number 5, a third level allowance optional claimer at 1 mile. Looking at the 5 Regal Warrior, a race that really kind of didn't develop the way I thought it would.
Yeah, well, Hermosillo, a long shot, actually went to lead. Regal Warrior breaks slowly, and at this point, it's another situation where the race was over for this horse at the start.
Breaking slowly here, and is going to get forced out a little bit wide going into the first turn here, which is really also going to affect Regal Warrior. The other thing I wanted to point out, too, is I thought there'd be more of a pace in here. I thought Rigby from the inside post would go. I thought WW Ladies Man would go. I didn't think Hermosillo would get off to a lead like this and be able to slow the pace down. And you see here, the horse that we're looking at, the 5 Regal Warrior, make that kind of loop move around the three-quarter pole here, to get up with these horses and just expending energy unnecessarily here.
No, I completely agree with you, and I thought that Hermosillo had a chance in this race, and it was an overlay, but you're absolutely right. The two horses you mentioned were both horses coming off races where they've shown significant speed, and instead they were wrangled back, and it's one of the reasons these races can be tough to handicap. I don't know what everybody is so afraid of being assertive. When you watch Ramon Dominguez, once again, and you go to Ramon because he's the top rider here, he's not afraid of being assertive on a horse, and one of the reasons he's not is that when you're aggressive here, it seems other riders can't wait to take back. Why do you take horses back and take them out of the race? And poor Regal Warrior, he just gets the worst of it.
Yeah, now he's chasing a 3-4 wide around the second turn here in a race where there's no pace whatsoever, and actually gets up in a second at this point here, and runs on well in this spot, and it just wasn't any catching Hermosillo, who had some decent races on the go back. Last 2 races weren't all that good, but this is a horse with some decent efforts. So running second, considering the factors in this race by Regal Warrior, not such a bad effort.
Oh, he far and away ran the best race in here. The little problem with him is he doesn't like to win. He's got a lot of seconds and thirds, but he runs the winning race here. And the other thing is, what good did it do these other riders deciding to strangle their horses back? Did it help the third-place finisher, the 1? No, it didn't help him. Did it help the WW's Lucky Man? It doesn't help those horses. You look at the race, and I mean, it's one thing you don't want to get embroiled into a massive speed duel, but geez, you got to look at the horse you're riding and see how the race develops and play your horse's strengths.
Yeah, I wonder if when some of the jocks dismounted after that race, they saw the horse that won and say, geez, what did I do here? I should have played things a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, the race went to Chavez because he was the most aggressive, and he was rewarded for it.
All right, we'll take a look at race number 8 from February 24th now. We're looking at the 2 Dixie Notion, the 4 Digger, 2 other than allowance optional claimer, and Dixie Notion's kind of going to get that uncomfortable inside trip that Frazel had that we showed in the first segment.
Yeah, same rider, Camilo Velasquez, and he's skunked by his inside post a little bit. Digger is not himself at his older age, but he still can run, but he doesn't have his gate speed that he's had before, and if he had broken very sharply here, he might have been able to take advantage of this tepid pace, or if he had broken sharply, perhaps he would have put some pressure on Jack in the Rocks early, and it would have helped Dixie Notion. Dixie Notion is a horse that I've been following, and it's not sometimes a question of I'm not wrong, I'm not wrong, and I keep saying it. Dixie Notion's a good horse who's been very unlucky in a lot of his races. Part of it is because he doesn't have a lot of speed, but this was a situation where Cornelio Velasquez would have been well suited to being more aggressive. Once you've got him in there, keep going forward. Instead, he does the same thing he did with Frazel.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to cost him, definitely cost him here with Dixie Notion, a horse that, as you mentioned, I think the last 3 times out has had some kind of trouble and some kind of excuse in all 3 of his races. So he's a horse now that is buried up, or not so buried up, but just doesn't look quite as good as he is with those last 3 races, and he fights on down here to the rail. He doesn't give up at all.
He does, and people say, oh, you just rally up the rail. That's not the way horses naturally want to run. This is a horse who needs a little bit of a pace to close into, and he's been in one uncomfortable spot after another, and he's still running at the end. 2 times ago, he got interfered when the horse went down at Philly Park. I'm telling you, Dixie Notion is going to beat these horses. He's going to win. He's going to be a bigger price than he should be. He's a better horse than he looks on paper.
All right, we'll get on to our last race this week, and we're going to take a look at the 5th race from February 27th. First of all, we want to know at the start the 6 COLIE Z, who stumbles and then gets sent aggressively to the lead and runs off.
Aggressively being the understatement of the year. There is the 6 here, COLIE Z, and I'll tell you something. COLIE Z was absolutely going to win this race with a different kind of ride. He's got a 10-pound bug rider who just goes on a crazy mission with this horse after the start, and it catches the rider of ZOSOGOOD, the heavy favorite, by surprise, hurts that one, and causes the race to sort of fall apart.
Yeah, I'm wondering if COLIE was almost, kind of ridden to instructions after the break where, the trainer or the owner might have said, just go to the lead at all costs, and that's what happened, as opposed to, maybe you have a more veteran rider where the horse stumbles like that and you try to nudge up a little more subtly instead of just blowing the field away on the first turn there.
This horse went fractions that were Grade 1 horses couldn't have kept up. This was maniacal, to be perfectly honest. And ZOSOGOOD, the heavy favorite, is not a horse that comfortable rating, especially going long. Gets caught behind that. You'll see what happens as Banking Holiday comes up the rail. Ferocious One takes the outside path, and we'll really show you what happens in the stretch, because there's a lot of contact in the stretch. But the horse that you want out of this race, in theory, is none of the first three finishers. It's COLIE with a different, more experienced rider.
I agree. I think a more experienced rider would have been able to set a much more reasonable pace in this race here. And things get interesting in the stretch between the eventual top three finishers. And here we'll have Banking Holiday come up the rail. Who's not in the picture yet. Here comes Banking Holiday right now. The 7 horse is ZOSOGOOD, the favorite, and the 3 is the eventual winner, Ferocious One, on the outside. And Ferocious One's going to win this race because he's clear of the trouble that the 7 and the 4 are going to get into right here, and wasn't part of the pace.
Yeah, and you watch Banking Holiday's on the inside. He has a bug rider, 7-pound bug rider, Rivera. Cohen comes over there, right there, and you can see them bumping. We'll see it more clear in the head-on. He's trying to keep him in, but I believe he caused real contact with this horse. And I was surprised that the stewards didn't look at this race. They might have looked, but they didn't blink it. Banking Holiday then starts to drift out badly, and he certainly interferes with other. But as you said, Ferocious One's just on the outside in the clear, and he manages to stick his nose in front.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at the head-on right now, and we'll pick it up at the top of the stretch. The 4 on the inside, Banking Holiday. The 7 ZOSOGOOD slamming Banking Holiday right there, and then Banking Holiday is going to come out and continue to drift out. And these horses were on the rail in 2-path, and they're going to end up in the 6 and 7-path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that David Cohen was trying to do the smart thing. He was trying to keep Banking Holiday inside. He was trying to race ride, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is these horses were pretty tired, and they had all been sort of chasing and a little bit leg weary, and he ends up bumping into that horse pretty hard. I guess all in all, everybody sort of caused different contact and caused issues. Not going to understand why nobody's numbers were changed. This was a race, though, that had a lot going on, and COLIE was the best horse.
Yeah, I agree. And next time out, I think with a more patient ride and different kind of tactics, COLIE might get the money.
I agree. It doesn't look that good coming out of that race. Once again, we love hearing your thoughts, trips, and traps at NiverInc.com.